All right, this is Real Talk with Rubio, Volume 2, Edition 2, Segment 2. I'm not sure what we're going to call, but this is the second one we're doing. We've got long time Rubio long snapping instructor slash liaison slash, I don't know what else. We've got John Finch. Finch, what's going on, my man?
I'm here. I'm here. I think liaison is probably the perfect word for it. I think that kind of is a blanket statement over everything. I've dabbled in a little bit of every aspect of Rubio Longstaff
Could
since
could
2009.
could we say,
Logistics.
could
Been a
we
big
go
logistics guy.
consigliere? What about
I
consigliere?
like that. I maybe like an Esquire. I could put Esquire at the end of my Rubio email address, right?
I thought that was strictly for lawyers.
I'm not sure, dude. I don't think anyone actually knows, but consigliere works. I think that sounds luxurious.
I think
I
it
like
does.
that. Yeah.
My chair's
Yeah.
falling. Oh, good, good. Okay. All right. So we'll talk with Rubio. We're going to go through five quick questions. I'm going to start off kind of easy, then we're going to get harder, but then we're going to end with fun one.
And you didn't
Okay?
let me prepare. You didn't let me prepare. I,
No,
I
yeah.
asked you,
Finch
I
literally
said,
asked me. He said, "What are we talking about?" I said, "I'm not telling you. No
yeah,
study. I
I
just
said,
want."
yeah, what are we doing?
Okay. So
I gotta
number
know.
one, I
Yeah.
know you consider yourself quite the foodie. For
Yeah,
those that don't know,
I like,
foodies are just people that they enjoy food.
yeah, I do eat. I do
Okay,
eat.
so Finch, out of the gate, you saw that I asked Cruz his five top road snacks, and they were absolutely disgusting. And he's
Yeah.
probably going to have a heart attack within an hour.
Well,
But
that's
I
on
want
you.
to ask you top five overall meals.
See, okay, well, that's tough because I
Of
think
course it is.
if we're considering top five meals, I think we have to consider the location.
Well, 100%.
I think we have to
100%.
consider what's the vibe of the day, right? Um, so I think if I had to start, I'd probably say my grandmother's chicken noodles and mashed potatoes will forever be one of my top meals. That's historically been on my like deathbed question, right?
Okay.
Chicken noodles, mashed potatoes. You make the little lake, the little crater in the mashed potatoes. You drop the chicken and noodles in.
Okay. Now, hold on. Is this, are you ranking them or are you just shotgunning five out there?
No, I'm not. I don't feel like it's appropriate to rank them because it's going to be a situation, like I said, where time and place and vibe
Okay.
matters,
Okay.
right? Um, Another meal that I kind of grew up on, it's a chicken tender platter from a place called Charleston's. These only exist in now, I think, in Carmel, Indiana, and there's one in Scottsdale. I've been to both of them.
Okay.
Okay, that's how good this place is. This was my staple Thursday night meal all of high school. We would go uh, Thursday night, whether it was after like a youth basketball practice, whether it was after like a high school basketball practice, whether it was to get ready for the football game the next day. This was my spot with my dad and stepmom. We start off spinach artichoke dip, appetizer, chicken tender platter. We're talking easy 3,500 calories, but it's like a upgraded, it's like a classy tender, right? It's
Okay.
kind of it's one that it's a tender that you want to have with a fork. Okay.
Is it breaded?
It's breaded, but it's not like oily, right? It's from like you can tell this is a real restaurant. Like
Oh, okay.
you're wearing pants to this place. Like you're not getting dressed up, but you're gonna wear jeans or something, you know.
Got it.
Um, and and then to get the fries loaded, cheese, bacon, sour cream, all of it, coleslaw to kind of cool it off a little bit, right?
Okay.
Bring it back down home. That's one of my top meals. I think another meal that is criminally underrated um, is the first meal that you have when you get home after a flight that is going to
Oh,
be from wherever. You're not eating at home. Okay. Like I said, I'm mixing it up. I'm mixing up the vibe. There's no specific entree
okay.
here. It's just like we just got home. Let's order pizza, right?
Okay.
And you're kind of just like, ah, all
Yeah,
right.
it hits harder when you're coming back from a long trip.
Yes, yeah, long trip. You're just like, I'm finally home. We got a couple dogs. Let's sink into the couch and
Yeah,
get a pizza.
got it. That's good. That's a
Let's
good
do
one.
that. I'm gonna turn this back around on you. How about a cold Cobb salad after a long hot day during a camp? Perhaps at a hotel. Perhaps
If I'm
at a hotel.
washing it down with a ice cold diet Mountain Dew from a can.
Ice cold dew, cold Cobb salad, ice cold ranch, like the kind of place where, like at the hotel, where you've got the cold bowl, the
Yes,
bowl that the
yes, yes.
salad comes in is already cold. Okay. And then the rest of the toppings, take it home. I mean, all of it, drag it through the garden, Cobb salad, all the ranch. Maybe we share some buffalo wings. Do we think about that
I
as an
won't say
appetizer?
no. I
As an
won't say
appetizer,
no.
we go wings for the table, okay? And then we go and then we each get a cold Cobb salad after maybe it was 105 degrees on the field in Atlanta. How about that meal?
I think it's a great option, John, but I just was reminded now that you said wings that I've told myself that I will never, ever share chicken wings with you again after what you
Yeah.
did last May Vegas.
Right. Well, I mean, we talked about this. That was a flavor and a crunch that I've been looking for months. And so I think let's just go ahead and we'll make that my fifth meal here. Um, when you've really been looking for something and you
Yeah.
just haven't found it, I could have had wings 3 days before, but it just didn't get me to where I wanted to go. Again, after a camp,
Hmm.
there's starting to be a trend here. After a camp, we head back to the hotel, and I couldn't stop eating wings for 2 hours.
Yeah. For the quick story here, it was after a Vegas camp. I think it was Sunday night.
Sunday night,
Finch Finch
last night.
ordered appetizer of chicken wings, just buffalo style, I believe.
Yep.
And lady comes around and says, "Okay, what would you like for your order?" He goes, "Let's bring it back around again. Let's run
Run
that
it
back up
back.
the court."
Run it
And
back.
he ordered chicken wings again for himself. And then he did one of those similar to Will Ferrell in Old School when he was debating and he just blacked out with the perfect
Yep.
answer.
I went
I
to a
think,
different place.
yeah, you went to I don't want to say the Twilight Zone, but you were in a different zone.
I couldn't even tell you who all was at that dinner with us. I was that dialed in on the wings, and like honestly, like I'll do it again here in a month
Yeah.
whenever we go back. I
I,
assume
I
we'll
did
be
I
at
did
the
that
hotel.
same exact move the first time I went low carb diet, and it was Sailor's kid's birthday, like a 2 year old birthday, and they had
Mhm.
gold medal ribbon ice cream cake, and it
Yeah,
was my first like carb in 4 months,
yeah,
and I blacked out while eating it. Like I didn't
yeah,
pass out, I literally zoned out. And
yeah,
Sailor said at one point people were trying to stop me, and he said, "Don't put your hands near the beast,"
yeah.
because I
Let
was
it
I was
go.
there. I ended up eating like a fourth of the sheet of cake, and
Yeah.
I didn't care.
No, I mean like that'll happen. I think too. There are people at our table during that meal. I think I'm remembering this correctly, who actually left during the meal, and I was just like, yeah, see it. Like they couldn't keep watching me eat these. I was like, yeah, go ahead. Like I wasn't gonna stop.
You
I
you
wasn't
were
gonna stop.
literally a horse with blinders on.
Yeah, yeah. I was out of it. So.
Finch number two. I want you to tell me about your high school career to college career to
Yeah.
now what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I grew up right outside of Indianapolis, went to high school called Carmel High School. I did not really start long snapping until I want to say like freshman year of high school.
Mhm.
And let's remind everyone, this was pretty much pre-Rubio long snapping. Long
Yeah.
snapping wasn't really a thing yet. You hadn't really turned it into a thing. So I was a tight end. And I was incredibly above average tight end for Hamilton County, Indiana, right? I think my dad told me probably eighth grade, maybe freshman year of high school, like get good at stuff that nobody else wants to do, and you'll always have a place to play. So that was tight end and long snapping. Like this was before being the tight end was cool and trendy. It was, and then no one at that time ever really thought about long snapping.
Yeah.
So we used to go to Colts games, and we watched the long snappers warm up. I'm like, I played baseball, right? I was like, I think I could do that, right? So I'd go out in the yard, snap to him. I was over at my mom's house, do the same thing. She's always throwing me footballs too. So um, figured out kind of how to do that. I went to, I never really even went to a long snapping camp. I was just kind of good at it, which I
Mhm.
know is always tough for people to hear.
And you were big.
Yeah, I was 6'3", 205, right?
Mhm.
So, when we talk about guys now that they, pass the eyeball test, like I passed the eyeball test. I could walk into a room and they could see my frame and say, we can make that kid weigh
Yeah.
215 or 255, like whatever we wanted to do. So I was lucky in that regard. I think my senior year of high school, I caught 13 balls.
Oh,
Not to brag, not to brag. They had two touchdowns against a very bad team in the playoffs, but I still scored twice, so that's pretty cool. And then went to Purdue, and I was a preferred walk-on for baseball. I was better at baseball than I was football.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah, I was per walk on for baseball. I was supposed to go through fall ball, and they'd be like, "Hey, man, you're good to go," or "Don't worry about it, come back next year." But yeah, and then I had a couple of football players in one of my classes, and my first week of school, they came up and they're like, I'm talking to like we all sat next to each other. I think like when you get to college, like bigger guys, like kind of just sit closer to each other because
Yeah.
we can spread out, and then no one would sit around you like big lecture hall. It's like you can kind of mark your territory a little bit. So we were all sitting next to each other. And I had gone to Purdue football camp. Like I knew the coaches, my whole family. My mom went to Purdue, dad went to Purdue, stepmom went to Purdue, grandparents went to Purdue, right? I was kind of always going to go there. And they're like, hey, like, we always needed more long snappers. And our guys, he had a bad week and got yelled at a lot last week. And he had two bad reps in a game. So I just went in, like, baseball hadn't really started yet. I went in and signed up to try out for the team, like, in February. Like, I was going to do the standard,
Yeah.
like, literally sign-in sheet. I got an email and a phone call that's like, this is like a Thursday, and they're like, hey, can you try out for the football team on Monday? And I was like, yeah, sure. Sounds good. Like, all right, we're gonna need you to long snap. I hadn't touched a football in 8 months, 8 or 9 months. Certainly hadn't long snapped. So I had a football in my dorm room, grabbed my roommates, a couple buddies from high school, and we just like went down to the intramural fields and I just like snapped. And I was like, well, we'll figure this out. So I go into the tryouts on Monday and like again, huge Purdue football fan, whole family went there. And it's like me, a GA, and the head coach, like that I grew up watching. And I had never blocked. I
Yeah. Yeah.
snapped like, with two hands on the football for like a year and a half of high school because I just say you should use two hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
No clue. I mean, like they're like, all right, you have to block. And I was like, block what? Like I don't well, we run a pro style punt here, so you need to snap it and block. I mean, I was bouncing these things back. I mean, it was just brutal, right?
And what year is this?
This is 2006.
Six. Okay.
So I was just like, well, this is trash. Like, there's no chance. And then they had me run like two or three routes. I caught a couple balls, and they're like, all right, you're good to go. Welcome to Purdue football. And I was just like, oh, all right, like here we go. So I
So,
was
so
on
not to throw any bones, the team must have been pretty thin at that point.
I think they just wanted to send a message to the current long snapper because he had two
Oh,
two bad snaps in the first game. Like in that, going through college, we realized that was kind of the MO,
yeah.
um, especially with the guy that was a year ahead of me. And so I make the team. I weighed 210, and they're like, "Hey, you're not gonna be on the travel bus until you weigh 245." So I put on 35
Jesus.
pounds, 35 pounds freshman year. That was awesome, right? And like I could eat whatever I want. Like mind you, like this is before they let walk-ons eat, like with the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like going to the dining courts after football and just it was no holds barred. Like it was sweet
Oh
because
yeah.
it was just like I never really lifted before. So I'm like working out. I remember just like coming back when school started the next year and like everybody's like, who the hell is this guy? Like, because I had put on 35, 40
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah.
And I'd always kind of just assumed like, hey, I'm just gonna like, I'm good. Like I was good, right?
Mhm.
But I figured it out, but I was just kind of like, I'm not gonna play till my fifth year. So like I'm gonna bust my ass. I was doing scout team tight end stuff. Like I'm happy to be here. But like want to be the best. And I'm not gonna start till my fifth year. Well, I get into my second or my third year, right? And he gets hurt during warmups of like a game, like the fifth game of the season, seventh game of the season, like like ligament in his elbow. That same head coach that I was freaking out about working out in front of, like walked up to me and goes, well, who's next? I was like, guess it's me. So I started that game and then the rest of my college career. So I ended up starting 29 games, um, just straight from that, even after he came back. So,
That that
uh,
is that's quite the little story right there.
yeah, yeah, it was nuts. I was good that game. No, the second game we played Michigan the next week.
Mhm.
I didn't sleep the whole week because that game
Well,
I didn't know I didn't
yeah.
know I was partying, so it was just like whatever, man. Like here we go. Like brains off. Whatever happens, happens. And then the next week we were playing Michigan, and we ended up beating them. We ran a fake punt too, so like I just got straight thrown into it,
Yeah.
and it was just like, well, okay, here we go. And he ended up coming back and was able to hold my starting spot down there and. Sorry for 29 games after college. Kind of like it came out during the lockout. So no rookie camps, no mini camps, everything, went through pro day, had a good pro day. Um, nothing came out of that. I think only like four guys out of my year ended
Mhm.
up getting work, like Corey, Christian, a couple other guys, but Corey, obviously the Yount, and then Corey were the two that I know the best that actually got some action in preseason that year. And the Yount, obviously, had a good run, but um, kind of, got a job down in Texas. Um, Ended up working out for the Steelers like the next February. Similar type situation. They call me on Tuesday or a Thursday, and they're like, "Can you work out for us on Tuesday? We'll send you flight details." I was like, "Yeah, for sure." Again, hadn't touched football for 8 months, but they fly me out to Pittsburgh. Had a good workout, but when you get to that level, like you have to be perfect that
Yeah.
day for that half hour. And like again, like I left feeling good, but you just have to be perfect. So that didn't work out, but I guess spin it back a little bit. I was going to go be on a UFL team,
Mhm.
getting ready to fly out there, and then that league folded the day before I was supposed to fly out. So then I took the
I want to
check.
I want to go back to your job as of right now. You don't
Yeah,
have to go into too many details, but I want, and I think it's always a good story that I know you try to hit with all the
yeah,
long snappers and instructors of
yeah,
exactly the I guess it's the pinball or the ladder that got to you to where you are right now, and
yeah.
how did your first basically job
Yeah,
opening start, and
this is
did it
what
come through long snapping?
Yeah, this is what the kids need to hear. I try to tell them every Vegas. I've worked 30, 40 Vegases now. I don't even know. But um, I'm now the director of sales for the Oregon Sports Properties team. Work for the company called Learfield. Anytime you watch or go to a college athletic event, you see ads. That's what we do.
Mhm.
Okay. So I manage the sales team here at Oregon. Now, 11 years ago, I was working a Vegas camp and had a the old Vegas like the Saturdays were nuts, right? Like we'd be on the field at 6 a.m. and we get off at 8, but you had to be dialed in that entire time. I mean, and Kevin the Ballinger, like we brought some juice. Brought some juice over to the hot corner. I was working for a medical sales company at the time, and I had a really good Saturday. Like I thought, I showed up, I showed out. Like we had been in Vegas for a couple of days, but I felt good.
Mhm.
We go out Saturday night, great time. Come back Sunday, not feeling the best, but again, ready to bring some juice. And this dad walks up to me, and he's like, "Hey, John, like, loved how you acted with the kids yesterday. My son really, responded well to, how you were coaching them, and that, love your energy, love that you're in medical sales. Have you ever thought about working in sports?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, what's up, man?" Because other dads had come up and said stuff
Mhm.
before. I was like, "Yeah, what do you do?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm the West Coast director of sales for IMG College." And I just like flip the switch. I'm like, yeah, yeah, what's up, man? Like he's like, hey, I'm Tom Fletcher. Like, let's stay in touch. Like, here's my card. I was living in Fort Worth at the time. He's like, I'll be down in DFW for the Final Four next month, or in April. And so this was January Vegas. And so like we stay in touch and he invites me to his Final Four party. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. There's a bunch of sponsors there. Then he took me to NASCAR the next day because NASCAR was in town. This is all from a Rubio camp. Okay. This is from one Vegas camp. And then literally 6 weeks later, a job opens up at TCU for me to sell for IMG College. And he's like, you want it? I'm like, let's go. Like, I'm already there in Fort Worth. Like, I think it was fate, man. Like, if I
Yeah.
wouldn't have worked at Vegas camp, I wouldn't be here today. And that's why I try to tell these young instructors, whether they're still in college or just got out of college, like, you don't know who you're going to meet and what kind of impact that's going to have on your life. Like, just from working, these camps and from
Mhm.
meeting these parents and coaching their kids, there's going to be opportunities to open up for you. Tom and I still chat to this day. He's running partnerships for the Suns now, and he ended up moving to Texas as our company kind of grew. And I got to coach Thomas, one-on-one lessons down outside of in Georgetown, outside of Austin. And Thomas obviously had a great career at Alabama and won a couple national titles. Now he's coaching, so it's just fun to see these kids grow up. Like
Yep.
Tom, you've had a huge impact on my life. I wouldn't be where I am without Rubio long snapping, even though I never went to one of your camps, right? And so that's what like a lot of these kids I think now need to know. Like the better you perform and the more you are yourself, like you don't know what kind of opportunities are going to open up with you through long snapping.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Lean into your personality. Do what you got to do. Be who you are. Not everyone's going to be Finch. Not everyone's going to be Rubio. Not everyone's going to be Ballinger, and that's okay. You're going to
Yeah.
have some corporate Corys out there doing what they're doing, and that's fine. Finch, I
Yeah.
want you to tell me about a hard time in your life and how did you get over it? It doesn't have to be football related. It could be family related. Do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there was we'll spin it back to football.
Yeah.
we had a death in the family, happen suddenly. Um, and I had to leave the team for a little bit during training camp one year. Got that phone call first week of camp, had to go home for a week. Um, and being able to come back to the locker room during training camp and being surrounded by that second family that you have when you're part of a football team. That's something that really helped, carry me through a pretty tough time. And you spin it back and you look at it now, and those college years are awesome, right? And I think about that moment. There's three guys that were in that locker room, like when I was going through that were standing next to me at my wedding.
Mm.
And you don't, again, like everybody thinks like, oh, I'm gonna go to college and just it's gonna be the time of my life and party and football and all that. But like you genuinely will have people standing next to you at the biggest day of your life when you're getting married that went through all that with you and helped get you out of that, funk as well whenever anything happens. So, I tell guys all the time, like, take it seriously while you're there, take the relationship seriously. Like now, I think there's kind of a culture of people transferring if they don't think they're going to get the right amount of playing time. But like you always say, pick the place that's right for you. Pick the place that, you're going to be proud to have a degree from, whether you're playing football or not. And that was certainly Purdue for me. And it's given me lifelong friends. And, I lived with a couple of them after college too. And hell, Kevin and I still work your camps together,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's,
One of the good things about my top long snappers, I always say this. I just said it yesterday in Dallas, you see me use the hashtag always toe the line, toe the line, toe the line. What I mean by that always is toe the line between confidence and cockiness. And I want you to talk to me a little bit and talk to the long snappers and the parents about how did you handle pressure situations? Because to me, I look at you, I known you for 20 years at this point. I think it's that you towed the line because there's a lot of people that look at you and say, I don't like that guy. And there's a lot of people that look
yeah,
at me and they don't like me as well because they're like, he's too cocky. But it's like,
yeah,
I'm not really cocky. I'm just overly confident.
yeah.
So how do you handle stress in college?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, I don't think I really developed that type of attitude or that type of mindset until I really put in the work,
Mhm.
right? And knowing that I've put in more work than whoever I'm competing against. Again, like to go back, like, that guy that got hurt during pregame, like he came back healthy before the next season. Now, I worked 4 days a week during the summer snapping, and he wasn't there, right? So I went into that training camp like I'm better than him. Like I can move better than him. I snap a better ball. Like I can beat him, right? And I think that like, there's a time to act like that, and there's a time to kind of peel it back a little bit too. That's something I struggled with when I got in the real world. Like for all you guys that are about to graduate, you're going to get in the real world and think you're the coolest dude that's ever existed, especially if you played at a big school. Like
Yep.
you can talk about more cool stuff than anybody that you're going to be in that office with. When I got into medical sales, people are coming up to me to talk about what happened on the football field this week. Like what did I see? You're going to think you're awesome, and so you kind of have to peel it back a little bit. But that being said, like you, Kevin, and I, Ballinger have been in the same group text for 15 years now. And anytime Kevin brings up anything, like we still shoot it at each other. He was third string behind me, right? But he'll be the first to tell you that he benched more than me in college. So like it doesn't stop, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to go away. But I think it's important that, for you young guys that are going to these camps, like the second that it's not that those lights come on, like you have to actually believe like there's nobody better than you. And you have to go
Love
out
that.
there and,
Yeah.
and, and bury kids. And that's what, when I work with these guys, virtual lessons or one-on-ones, anything like that, that's what I tell them.
You kind of look like some sort of superhero right now.
Well, it's golden hour here in Oregon,
Yeah,
right? I don't really know. I mean,
your
it's
studio, you're going to need some sort of
very chic, dude.
backdrop or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to cover up Sasquatch here, but
But it happens. Final question. As you just mentioned, you, myself, Ballinger, Christian Yount for a while. We have
yeah.
a group text that's been going for since 2000, basically six, I think.
I think
Uh,
like yeah, I would say probably like 2008. I think we were actually in the group text for like 2 years before I even met you in person. Uh, and
and
this
then
was like when group text became a thing. I know like a lot of people now can't even imagine a world before group text. Like we were like the original group text.
yeah, I think I think maybe we actually even started it. If you look on Wikipedia, and
Yeah.
ours is called the Pen Pals. One
Yep.
of Ballinger's lady friends actually named it.
Yep.
So kudos to her. She's no longer in the Pen Pals existence.
She's out there. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
she's out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so my final question for you, Finch.
Yeah.
You just have been given, let's go $30,000.
Yeah.
Okay, some relative that you do not know willed it to you, but it says on the envelope, here's $30,000. You have to take Finch, obviously yourself,
Yeah.
Rubio, Ballinger, the Yount comes out of retirement, and
Hmm.
corporate Corey.
Yeah.
We're
That's
going on a trip
fun.
and we're
Yeah.
blowing the $30,000. We cannot come home with any money. Where are
Yeah.
we going? What are we doing?
Yeah, so I mean, this is easy. Like with that group, um, it's May Vegas. It's after it starts Sunday night after the camp ends.
Okay,
Okay. Like I'm not like my clock for the 30 grand is not going to start until we get through the camp. I need all of us to get through another camp together, right?
okay,
Like the good old days, 10, 11, 12 years ago. Like I need all four of us Friday morning prep session all the way through Sunday afternoon finals. We're all there together. The second that van gets packed up, the 30K, the clock starts ticking.
got it.
Okay. And I'm giving us 36 hours for that money to be gone. Okay. We're
Okay,
going to that. We're going to Sunday night swim at XS
okay,
table like that has the pool where you can walk into the pool
or fall in.
or fall into the pool.
Hmm.
People have fallen into the pool. People have dunked half their leg into the pool while wearing jeans. We're going to that table.
When in Rome.
Yeah, and we're gonna start there. And I will make a tea time for the next day. It stays light there till like 9. So the next day we'll have a tea time at 4 o'clock.
Okay,
Okay. Um, I don't want the money to still be available to spend by that tea time. Like if we have to cancel the tea time. Okay. So I think we could burn through it if we stay there long enough and we stay up long enough. Now, that's the thing. Corey's got a few kids. He's looking for good sleep.
yeah.
That can't happen on this trip. Same thing with Kevin. Guys, we got 30K and we got about 18 hours. So, yeah, it'd be May Vegas after a camp.
I got to be honest. That was great. Like
It sounds
you
nice.
just
Now you're
took
kind
me on
of,
a visual journey, an emotional
yeah,
journey that I wasn't ready for because I thought you would go a completely different route. But the route
yeah.
that you went, I'm in love with.
Yeah, you're kind of thinking about it now. Like, do I have an extra 30K laying around to
Yeah,
kind of,
that's a good
who
one.
do I know? Who do I know that would be willing to do something like this?
Finch, this was awesome. I really appreciate it. This will be
Yeah.
out this week. Everyone, John Finch, this is Real Talk with Rubio. Peace
Yeah.
out.
Awesome. See you.